Then what? The detectives all looked at him and started to smile. Detective Wu, do you really believe in ghosts and things like that? I didn't know you were so easily scared. Jinchul. Ha ha ha. Jinchul didn't think there was actually a monster, but he thought there had to be a reason the criminals all saw the same strange thing, didn't there? The stories the people told made Jinchul feel worried, like he was looking at something scary hidden away. He thought they shouldn't bother whatever it was. The lead detective saw Jinchul look concerned and gave his shoulder a friendly pat. Don't worry, Detective Wu. No one will be hurt. We will take one person to a safe place like a large empty building and watch them carefully. Strong detectives will guard them so they cannot leave. His boss looked at him, wondering if Jinchul truly believed in strange things. So Jinchul nodded. His boss laughed. The man said, "What if a creature showed up and dealt with these bad guys after a day? Shouldn't we be grateful?" These three men were dangerous criminals. They had broken into the home of an older couple to steal from them. Sadly, the couple tried to stop them, and the criminals hurt them very badly. The leader said with a mix of humor and seriousness that it would be better if these bad guys were attacked by a large creature instead of going to jail where they would receive 3 good meals each day. Then he asked for people to help. He gave a knowing smile. Detective Wu, you don't have to help if you don't want to. Jinchul paused, but he understood what the chief was really saying. The chief wanted Jinchul to be involved. No, I will help. Please, detectives. Don't do this to me. I can't take it. Be quiet. We just need to check something. But I'm scared. I'll get hurt. No, no one is getting hurt today. We will stay right here to protect you. Detective Kim, how much time is left? Let me see it. Looks like there are 30 minutes left. Really? Wow, it's chilly out here. Even though it was spring, the air was still cold, and the detectives could see their breath. The sun was just starting to rise, and things were quiet at the warehouse. The team watching the suspect was getting bored because nothing was happening, but Jinchul Wu stayed focused and kept a careful watch. He had a strange feeling that something wasn't right. It felt like danger was coming, and they needed to be careful. He hoped everything would be okay, and took some deep breaths to feel calmer. Then, the time limit set by the strange creature arrived. And time's up, really. One of the investigators looked at his watch and stood up. Tick, tock. The time had passed. Silence. It was exactly what they had predicted. Nothing was happening, and it didn't seem like anything would happen soon. What is going on? A detective who got angry easily stared at the scared criminal, who lifted his head looking puzzled. What with no one else around, the detectives gathered around the criminal and shouted at him, "Were you all using drugs? Why don't you just tell us what happened?" The criminal looked around, but when nothing happened after a while, he looked very confused. No, I mean we really did see it. There were actually 4 of us. Jinchul, who had been standing to the side and watching carefully, suddenly turned and shouted at the others. Run! Get out of here! What was Jinchul so worried about? The detectives looked at him when something strong pushed them backward. Aha! They fell to the ground and were knocked unconscious. Jinchul started to run forward but quickly stopped. Right in front of him, strange monsters were rising from the darkness. Oh, he was so surprised he couldn't speak or even breathe. These creatures weren't people, but they looked like people with ant heads. Jinchul's eyes grew wide. There were 3 of them. These weren't imagined or caused by anything he might have taken. What the criminal said was completely true. Baplas! The criminal shouted as the ants came around him. It was the most frightened sound a person could make. A sound made when facing something terrible. The ants quickly began to tear off the man's arms and legs and eat them. Gapla! The shout didn't last very long. A small amount of blood and tiny bits of food were all that remained after the ants ate. Jinchul felt disconnected from himself as he watched everything happen, almost like he wasn't really there. 2 of the ants noticed him after they finished eating. Scraza. They stared at Jinchul, and he tried to run but his legs wouldn't obey him. He couldn't move his feet. Please! Suddenly the biggest ant with wings held back the other 2 ants, stopping them from attacking Jinchul. The detective thought the ant almost seemed glad to see him, and it smiled. A smiling ant. No, forget about that. How did Jinchul realize the ant was glad he was there? Jinchul felt strangely sad, even though the situation was really frightening. It felt like he had experienced this before. Why? How could that be? The confused detective watched the ants move into the darkness. Hey, wait! They didn't listen and vanished quickly. Jinchul hurried to the shadowy area. But the ants were gone. He touched the ground where they had been, and a sad feeling grew stronger inside him. Jinchul realized where he was when he heard his coworkers move around. Are you all right? He checked to make sure they were okay, then quickly called for assistance. But even after the ambulance came and took his coworkers away, he still looked at the places where the ants had disappeared. This is good. This is really good. The chief was very angry, and that made sense. The criminal had escaped, and the detectives who were supposed to watch him didn't remember anything because someone had knocked them unconscious. The police chief made a sound with his tongue as he looked at the two detectives who had bandages on their heads. Then he turned to Detective Wu. What about you, Detective Wu? You called for the ambulance, didn't you? Do you remember? I'm sorry. When I woke up they were still unconscious. So, oh my goodness. The chief sighed and put his hand over his heart, feeling frustrated. Good thing. The report hasn't gotten to the higher-ups yet, so you both need to keep this quiet. You were hurt while looking into gang activity in Gurogyu. Do you understand? Yes. Yes, sir. And with that, the topic was dropped. For a while things were calm for the team that investigated serious crimes. Detective Wu, you seem happy lately. Did something good happen? The new detective gave Jinchul a hot coffee from the machine. Nothing special. Jinchul took the coffee and acted like it didn't matter much. But the new detective was right about something. Seeing those ant creatures had filled a small part of the constant sadness he usually felt. There was something important about this. His experience as a detective, and just plain good sense told him this was something he should look into further. Jinchul was quietly writing in his notebook when the new detective leaned over to look. What? Are you still working on the case of the escaped criminal? But the boss said I know. Jinchul interrupted and finished his coffee. He was looking into it because he wanted to, not for work. The new detective seemed surprised. So it's not just crimes here, but criminals from other cities have also said this shadow thing made them do it. Jinchul knew he shouldn't be too critical of the young officer. It was rare for anyone to choose to work with serious crimes, especially now. Even though the new detective bothered him, Jinchul tried his best to answer all his questions calmly. That is correct. Interesting. The new detective looked closely at the notes. It seems fewer criminals turned themselves in near the end of February compared to the start of March. Jinchul was surprised by how quickly the new detective noticed this important detail. Did you think of something? No. It's not important. It's just that my aunt used to have a small shop where people could rent books, and she used to say business got slow at the end of February and the beginning of March, when one school year ended and a new one started. He seems like a perfectly normal kid.
Exactly. That's what worries me.
The principal tapped the document with a thick finger. He scored perfect marks on every test. He volunteered at the local community center every weekend. He's a model student, but he doesn't seem to have any friends. The teacher frowned. So, the principal lowered his voice. We've had incidents. Students who are too perfect. They often hide things. Deeply disturbing things. The teacher's eyes widened. Are you saying? I'm saying, we need to keep a close watch on this boy, especially during the entrance ceremony. Understood. A rookie detective chuckled nervously, embarrassed by his own joke. But he noticed Jinchul, writing down everything he said. Detective Wu, Jinchul simply said, just in case. It was the end and beginning of the school year. Jinchul quietly wrote these 8 simple words in his notebook. The day before new students started at XX High School, the principal secretly called the teacher in charge of student matters to his office. There's a problem student among the new arrivals. Excuse me. The principal slid a paper across the desk. The teacher read it and looked confused. His father is a firefighter, and his mother stays home to care for the family. He seems like a regular kid. Exactly. That's what I'm worried about. The principal pointed to the paper. He got perfect scores on all his tests. He helped at the community center every weekend. He's a good student, but he doesn't have any friends. The teacher looked concerned. And the principal spoke quietly. We've had problems before. Students who are too perfect often hide things. Very troubling things. The teacher's eyes grew wide. Are you suggesting? I'm saying we need to watch this boy closely. Especially during the ceremony. I understand. His grades are very good, and he doesn't cause problems. No, not that, keep reading. When he first started middle school, the student ran away from home and was gone for 2 years. Because of this, he was kicked out of his middle school, but he studied on his own and passed an important test so he could attend this high school. He decided to leave home right after finishing elementary school. The teacher felt like he was facing a strong opponent and looked closely at the student. The principal spoke quietly. "What do you think? Can you help this student?" The teacher closed the student's file and took a deep breath. "You know why people call me the venomous snake, right? Please let me work with students who are causing problems. I will help him learn to behave." The teacher's eyes showed she was confident and felt it was her job to help. The principal nodded his head. "Very good. I'll leave it to you, Mr. Park." The principal looked relieved after hearing Mr. Park's promise. Mr. Park smiled. Tomorrow would be a big challenge. He was already determined to help the student who was causing trouble change his ways right away. The new high school students gathered on the field for the welcome ceremony. While the teachers weren't watching closely, they looked for and talked with friends from their old middle schools. Quiet. Kizel Park, a student known for being tough, appeared and quickly got everyone's attention. His angry look quickly silenced the new students. Who is being so loud? Even though his name sounded like he might teach art or computers. Mr. Kisul was actually a gym teacher. He had ears that were a little bumpy from sports, a strong neck, wide shoulders, and big legs, which was fitting for someone who taught wrestling. Students looked down to avoid meeting his eyes. At the start of the school year, students sometimes try to show who is in charge, but the relationships between teachers and students were more important. These relationships would decide how a class, or even the whole 7th grade, would act. Mr. Park had always won when trying to establish control, even when he first started teaching 10 years ago, and he didn't plan on changing that this year. The new students looked away and became very quiet as he walked past. His fellow teachers respected him and watched him with approval. Mr. Park is doing well. If we trust Mr. Park, things should go smoothly this year. Kissel smiled, pleased as he looked at the shy new students. Yes, this is how it should be, but he wanted even more than just this calm atmosphere. Today he had a specific student to talk to, as the principal asked him to. If Mr. Kisul couldn't help the student change his behavior today, he wouldn't feel like he had done his job. He quickly found the student in the group. There he is. Mr. Kisul's smile disappeared when he saw the student. Jin Woo-sung was much taller and stronger than the other students. Even from far away, Kisul knew the student was different. So that was Jin Woo-sung, but Kisul was a good teacher. No matter how challenging students were, they always behaved nicely for him. If anyone tried to act superior, Kisul would simply reveal his power. The venomous snake had never encountered someone he couldn't defeat. He was very sure of himself. Alright then. It was time to start. Mr. Kisul looked the student up and down. Then his eyes noticed something important. The student was wearing a black glove on one hand. The school rules said students could not wear gloves or hats. And Mr. Kisul was in charge of making sure everyone followed the rules. He couldn't just ignore it, could he? But Mr. Kisul remembered reading in the student's file that the student had a very bad burn on that hand. So he understood why the glove was needed. Mr. Kisul was looking for a reason to address the student who was causing problems. Seeing that the student wasn't following the school's clothing rules gave him the perfect opportunity to speak with him. As Mr. Kisul walked closer, his eyes showed he was ready to have a serious talk. The student hadn't noticed him yet, which was good because it gave him a moment to prepare. A surprise attack was a good way to scare an enemy. When Kisul was close enough for the student to hear his voice, he opened his eyes and started to act. "Hey you, how dare you wear that glove?" Jinwoo looked up at Kisul's loud shout, and their eyes met. "What?" That's when Kisul saw many monsters standing behind the troublemaker. The students on the field disappeared and he saw a huge army of soldiers standing perfectly still, stretching as far as he could see. "Oh!" Kisul fell backward yelling. "Mr. Park. Are you okay, Mr. Park?" The teachers nearby hurried to help him as he lost all color in his face. When he looked back at Jinwoo, everything was normal again. Alvin blinked quickly and shook his head. The students stared at him and talked among themselves. "Everyone, be quiet. Mr. Park, are you feeling sick?" Kisul's face turned red as his coworkers looked at him with worry, and the students with confusion. "I've been fine." Kisol pushed their hands away as they tried to help him, and quickly walked away. Belian quietly watched him go and whispered to Jinwoo from the shadows. My lord, that man. Yeah, I think he saw them. Jinwoo nodded. Some people notice things much better than others. Sometimes people noticed Jinwoo was different, just like Kisul had. Was this happening because of something he was doing? He wasn't sure. He remembered the teacher's worried face as the teacher quickly walked away. Just then, a voice came over a crackling speaker on the field. The principal will now begin his welcome speech for the new students. Jinwoo looked away from where Kisul had gone. It was a beautiful spring day. The sun felt warm, and the principal's shiny head, and the faces of the new ninth graders were all bright. Jinwoo had chosen to go to a high school that was a little farther away on purpose. Because of this, he didn't know anyone in his classes. That was probably what he should have expected. He didn't feel bad about his choice as he looked at his classmates and smiled. He was old enough not to worry about being the new kid and not knowing anyone. Before he would have said hello to other students even if it was a little strange, but now he didn't feel like it. While the other students tried to become friends, Jinwoo just started reading his book. He probably liked reading because it reminded him of the peaceful quiet he experienced while traveling between worlds. Also, he was much older than the students, and he wasn't sure what they would have in common to discuss. He preferred reading books and learning from them. While he was trying to enjoy some quiet time, someone walked up to him. Excuse me, are you? The voice was very quiet. The teenager jumped a little when Jinwoo looked up, but then he seemed to recognize him. You're from Triangle Middle School. You're Jinwoo Sung, aren't you? Who is this person again? Jinwoo narrowed his eyes. This person looked familiar. He couldn't quite remember who it was or how they knew each other, because they hadn't been very close. Oh, right. The quiet teenager introduced himself as if he often had to do that. I'm Young-gil. Oh, we went to the same middle school. Oh, right. As soon as Jinwoo heard the name, he remembered the boy who used to watch other students with a sad look when they talked about going to the internet cafe. That boy with the short haircut was now in high school. Jinwoo held out his hand to shake Young-gil's hand, feeling both happy and surprised to see him. Good to see you, Young-gil. Yeah, Young-gil paused, like he wasn't quite used to shaking hands as an older student. He gently took Jinwoo's hand. It's good to see you too. Jinwoo could feel his friend was very relieved to shake his hand. Seeing someone familiar in a new classroom at a new school was definitely a comfort. Jinwoo smiled to help his friend feel more relaxed. It looked like it was working and Young-gil started to talk more. Do you live nearby? I moved here last year, so Jinwoo stopped him to end the conversation quickly. Wait a minute. He turned to the four kids who looked a little suspicious and were coming closer to him, and Young-gil. Who are you guys? What's with the glove? Four students laughed and pointed at the glove on Jinwoo's left hand. Seeing them made Young-gil look upset. Young-gil needed to be brave. Jinwoo felt sorry for his friend. He looked at the four bullies and noticed their mean faces and how they were glaring. Even though this was their first year at this school, these students had been causing problems together since middle school. They looked around the classroom and decided Jinwoo was the only one who might try to stop them, so they started to watch him closely. The other students probably wouldn't even make eye contact. But to someone who had fought for many years, the bullies just seemed young and harmless. The bullies didn't realize Jinwoo didn't think they were scary and kept trying to bother him. Take off your glove, they said. I want to try it on. Why do you only have one? Are you trying to be cool and mysterious? I bet you think you're the main character in a cartoon. Ha 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 ha. When the four of them started laughing, Jinwoo smiled. This made them change how they were acting. What's so funny? Can't you hear us? We told you to remove the glove. Are you concealing something on your left hand? Baru's angry voice echoed from the darkness. My lord, if you permit me, I will cut off their arms and legs, and then their heads. Then they would never be allowed to reject it. But I already said no. After telling Baru not to do that again, Jinwoo took off his glove before anyone else could react. He showed everyone the bad burn that went from his hand to his arm. The bullies were quiet when they saw the very serious burn. We were just kidding. Why so serious? Okay, put your glove back on. I'll probably dream about that. Hey, the boys who were causing trouble seemed to think that was enough and walked away. As Jinwoo put his glove back on, he stepped firmly on the shadow that was secretly following them. Why are you following those boys? Scrah. Jinwoo held back Baru, who was angry that the kids had been teasing his master before looking up. Jinwoo thought the whole thing had been fun. The people who had fought against him in the strange space between worlds were gone. The creatures that had tried to hurt him in the underground tunnels were also defeated. He was now in Seoul, South Korea, a city without magical doorways or dangerous beasts.